All right, guys. So I wanted to go over the stained glass window project so that you knew exactly what you're doing. So this first page is what you're going to be working on for the first 2 days. So today and tomorrow, you will pick 3 equations from each column. You don't get to mix and match, so you can't use all 6 from column 1. You're going to do 3 from column 1, 3 from 2, 3 from 3, and 3 from 4. And that's because they each have their own direction that they're going to go. So x equals lines are going to be straight up and down lines, which we'll get to in just a second. Y equals and just a number are going to be straight across lines. They're going to be horizontal. Column 3, if you look, all of these slopes, which are the number attached to x, all of those are positive. So these lines will be going up and to the right, either very steep or very flat, but they're going to go up and to the right. And column 4, all of the slopes are negative, so they're going to be going down and to the right, which is why we need to pick 3 from each column because, like I said, they each have a different direction they're going to go. So I'm going to show you how to make tables, but I chose equations that weren't on this so that they're more like examples. So when you're doing your equations, I'm going to start with the x equals, so column 1. So you're going to pick your 3 equations. I am doing my examples on x equals -3, x equals 0, and x equals 3. So what this line tells me is no matter what my y values are, x will always be -3. And for your table, you need to have 5 points. So you're just going to put that value in the x column 5 times because it doesn't matter what your y value is, x will always be -3. From there, you can pick any y values you want. I usually just do -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2, but you can pick other values if you'd like as well. And you just do that for the other 2 as well. So for x equals 0, we have 5 zeros along the x side, and then whatever y values you want. I'll do different ones this time so that you can see it really doesn't matter what your y values are because what this says is x will always be 0. And this one says that x will always be 3. So I'm going to do 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. And again, whatever numbers I want. So maybe this time I do -7, -5, -3, -1, +1. I really don't care what those y values are. So just as a recap, these x equals lines, they tell you that your x value stays the same the whole way down, and you can choose whatever y values you want. Moving on to column 2, these ones are just y equals a number. So they're just going to be the opposite of what these tables look like. So where y equals -7, all 5 of your y values are going to be -7. I usually, on XY tables, make my X values -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. And that's because it shows you both sides of the y-axis. So it shows you a little bit to the left, it shows you the y-intercept, and it shows you a little bit to the right, which will make more sense when we get to the tables in columns 3 and 4, because these ones, it doesn't really matter since it's going to be a flat line. So again, for the next one, since y is always 0, we're going to have 5 zeros on this one. You can pick whatever x values you want, but like I said, I almost always do -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. And for the last one, we're going to do the same thing, except for now your y values are +7. If you're following my daily checklist of things that you need to do, that's all that you need to do today, are those 6 tables. If you're trying to get ahead or you know that you're not going to have time later this week to do other things, then you could keep going. On column 3, this is where we have the positive slopes. So if your slope is a whole number, like this one is +3, this one has a slope of 1, then those are the tables I use my x values of -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. You can use other ones, but honestly, that's the easiest. The only time I don't use that is when we have a fraction slope. So I'll get to that in just a minute. When I have this, I'm going to plug each number in and do PEMDAS. So when I plug in -2, I replace the x with -2. So this is now 3 times -2 plus 4. 3 times -2 is -6, plus 4 is -2. So this is going to be -2. Then I plug in -1. 3 times -1 is -3, plus 4 is +1. If I plug in 0, 3 times 0 is 0, plus 4 is 4. And we know that in our equation of y equals mx plus b, this value is always your y-intercept. So this number should always be across from 0. So really, you could take a shortcut, and we'll do that on the next table, where you can just write your b value in without solving. If we keep going, if I plug in 1, 3 times 1 is 3, plus 4 is 7. That's my answer. If I plug in 2, 3 times 2 is 6. 6 plus 4 is 10. Because our slope is 3, we can double check our work. As long as our x's are going up by 1s, which they are, then our y's should go up by 3s, which they do. So that means that we did our math correct. On to the next table, my slope is 1. So as long as my x values go up by 1s, then my y's will also go up by 1. The shortcut I was talking about, my b value or my y-intercept is -1. So I can put that in the table right across from 0. If you want to really use a shortcut, from here, we already said our x value should go up by, our y value should go up by 1 each time our x values go up by 1. So really, I could just count by 1s here. And that's kind of a shortcut. If you don't understand the shortcut or don't want to use it, then you would just plug each number in like we did above. So -2 minus 1 is -3. -1 minus 1 is -2. 0 minus 1 is -1. 1 minus 1 is 0, and 2 minus 1 is 1. That's how you do the tables when your slope is a whole number. If your slope is not a whole number, like on this bottom one, where my slope is 1/3, I would not do -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2, because you're going to get fraction answers. And while fractions and decimals aren't bad, they are harder to graph. So if you try and avoid that, then instead of counting by 1s on your x's, you're going to count by whatever your denominator is. So in this case, my denominator is 3. So instead of doing -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, if I start at 0 and I count by 3s, if it goes 0, 3, 6, and on the opposite side, it would be -3 and -6. And like I said, the point of that is just to not have decimals. If you do it the other way, it's fine, but decimals are not as clean to graph, so I do it this way. And now we're going to plug each number in. So we're going to do 1/3 of -6 is -2, minus 6 is -8. If I plug in -3, 1/3 of -3 is -1, minus 6 is -7. If I plug in 0, 1/3 of 0 is 0, minus 6 is -6. You might also start to see the pattern here. 1/3 of 3 is 1. 1 minus 6 is -5. 1/3 of +6 is 2. 2 minus 6 is -4. Our tables still correlate with our slope because our slope here is 1/3, which tells me my y values go up by 1 every time my x values go up by 3. And if we look, our y values are counting up by 1s as our x values are counting up by 3s. So we know our table is accurate. The only difference between column 3 and column 4 is that now we have negative slopes. So I would again, this time our slope is an integer. It's a counting number, not a fraction. So I'm going to use my x values of -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. I'm going to plug these values in. -2 times -2 is +4. Positive 4 minus 4 is 0. If I plug in negative 1, negative 2 times negative 1 is 2, minus 4 is negative 2. Negative 2 times 0 is 0, minus 4 is negative 4. Negative 2 times 1 is negative 2, minus 4 is negative 6. And negative 2 times 2 is negative 4, minus 4 is negative 8. This time, since our slope is negative 2, it tells us each time our x values go up by 1, our y value should go down by 2, which it is. On the next one, our slope is y equals negative 1/2 x plus 1, so our slope is negative 1/2. So again, like we did on this table down here, we're not going to count by ones. Instead, we're going to count by twos. So that means it's going to go negative 4, negative 2, 0, 2, 4. Notice how each time on my tables, I start with my smallest x value and go up. That's the proper formatting of a table, so don't do it the other way, where you go 4, 2, 0, negative 2, negative 4. We always want to go from smallest to biggest. Your y values may not, but your x values, you want to go from smallest to biggest. So now I'm going to plug each of these in. Negative 1/2 of negative 4 is positive 2, plus 1 is 3. Negative 1/2 times negative 2 is positive 1, plus 1 is 2. Negative 1/2 of 0 is 0, plus 1 is 1. Negative 1/2 of positive 2 is negative 1, plus 1 is 0. And negative 1/2 of 4 is negative 2, plus 1 is negative 1. Since our slope is negative 1/2, that tells me my y values should go down by 1, like they are, each time my x values go up by 2. My last table, I made my slope negative 2/5. So I'm going to count by 5s instead of by 1s. And what we're going to see is, since my numerator isn't 1, it's 2. This tells me my y values will go down by 2 each time my x values go up by 5. So if I plug in negative 10, negative 2/5 times negative 10 is 4. 4 plus 4 is 8. Negative 2/5 times negative 5 is 2, plus 4 is 6. Negative 2/5 of 0 is 0, plus 4 is 4. Negative 2/5 of positive 5 is negative 2, plus 4 is 2. And negative 2/5 of 10 is negative 4, plus 4 is 0. And as you can see, our y values are going down by 2 each time our x values go up by 5. These are what your tables will look like. So this is all of your assignment for Monday and Tuesday. You can see I have done this in less than 15 minutes. So that gives you some time to really make sure that you're doing these correctly, because if you don't do the tables correctly, then your lines on your stained glass won't work out well either. I'm going to attach another video that shows you how to do your graphing, but this is your Monday and Tuesday assignment. Monday's assignment would be to do your first 6 tables. Tuesday's assignment is to do the next 6 tables. Other than that, go ahead and email me or comment if you have any questions, and I will answer them as I get them.